Nobody.
What would you recommend for the ladies that have been victimized by forms of rape or molestation or sexual abuse?
Yeah, my sisters, I understand. I would say that I totally understand because I walked that road. Not once, but for a very long time. It was part of the reality of my life, in a family reality. And so I want to say that I believe you because so often the very thing that breaks the silence gets thrown back and they're not believed. And no woman picks that up just to throw that around when you've been suffering inside. So find a confidant, someone that you can share your story to as step number one, but acknowledge it with your own lips for yourself. I'm a big journaler. I've been keeping journals ever since I was a child. Sometimes you have to write it out. Sometimes you have to then speak it, your words, but find one person that you can share. And then sometimes that person can be the one that will walk with you to some, perhaps you may need to see a therapist, or you may need to be a part of a support group, or you may need to have somebody who can create your own journey of wellness. So maybe you've been carrying it, it's been showing up in your body. There are many folks who we get it trapped. The stress and the stuff we're hiding shows up in our body. So we carry it in our weight. We carry it in sexing all over the place. We carry it in bad credit because we're shopping all over the place. We're pushing stuff away, and it's the instant boost that makes us feel good. Other folks show up. I was just talking to it's another family member. Alcohol dependence. This yesterday, I was talking to someone in my family circle. It's time for her to make a decision to go into detox. I'm like, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And the ways in which that plane, that thing that ripped that deep woundedness, we mask it and we cover it over. But we have to first tell our truth and tell our story to ourselves first, and then to reach out. And I pray that any woman that has had that experience, that there be one that you can connect with first that will say, I believe you, my sister, and walk with you. There are many, many ways to heal, but it only begins with that first step of acknowledging that this is my story. So if you're hearing me, I believe you, and I've walked that road. And healing is an ongoing lifetime journey. It's not a destination. We hit plateaus and we move to new places. But then our life shifts. You get older, your body changes, you got kids, you got babies, and they become teenagers. Then they're off to college, your body changes. Some people, the relationship ends, you get divorced. Life shifts. And the parts of our lives that were wounded before, they heal differently, but other things begin to show up. Things that I didn't know that were still tucked away resurfaced after my father died. So grief and loss becomes a part of healing as well. And but it takes honesty and being authentic and feeling like there is somebody that is connected to you who can support you. And if not, know that I believe that the power of the Spirit can guide you to connect with at least one person to reach out. But silence kills and destroys and makes whatever was the wounded thing, it makes it even more toxic. It's like cancer. And so breaking your silence with a supportive, caring individual is the first step.
And what about the men who've been sexually abused? Because when people speak about sexual abuse, they only focus on the females. And it's a big thing with the men because truthfully, I don't know what it is, but like I guess it's a gift. But if I start talking to people, they start opening up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like some people slip up sometimes and say certain things about their childhood. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like sexual abuse, And a lot of times, it's like you may have a younger person that's with an older woman.
Yes.
And they may have thought it was cool, but then when they realize it, they were sexually abused.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so often, that's back to the stigma part, the ways in which that we have one set of standards, right, for boys and for men and for girls and for women. Hurt is hurt, right? And somehow we kind of twist it. Hey, she was training you up and all of that. But wait a minute. Like I was underage and she was a grown woman. If that same thing happened, it was a man doing that to a girl. Wait a minute. That'd be like statutory rape. Oh, like what? Like we don't think about it in the same way. Shame is shame, period. And those places inside that we hold and cover, we know what they are. And shame is an emotion that, you know, the things that we've all experienced in life that you pull back and you want to cover and hide. That's very different than being sad. Shame is a very different kind of place of that internal woundedness. So for any brother who's had that experience of someone touching you inappropriately or making you do something when you weren't ready and doing it in the guise of I'm training you and preparing you, is unacceptable, and that's wrong. Period. It's unacceptable. And for many men, it actually is not until they're well into their adulthood that they can begin to acknowledge that, because they had to push it away and thought it was like a rite of passage of becoming a young boy, a teenager. And that it's not okay. And you begin to see how their sexual lives, you know, it becomes different, and you're all sexualized, you're all over the place, and not knowing what actually a good, enhancing, loving, caring sexual experience feels like, because the early ones began from that place. So yes, absolutely happens to men, and we need to acknowledge that, and that it's not okay that anybody did that to you. And so often when men will share that, folks go, man, I wish some woman would have taken, like, because we're playing that role in that script. That's not about manhood. That's about pushing away being vulnerable. It's back to the vulnerability piece again. And if you can't tolerate that vulnerable place, then I think, well, how can you be a good mate, a good spouse, a good husband, a good brother, a good father? Because it's about being human with another person. And we can talk about families and how we're like available to our children. But yes, absolutely, men, they experience that. And often it's not until they feel safer in their lives and more stable and steady that they're able to share with another brother that it happened to them.
Thank you so much for watching I Never Knew TV.
Please subscribe, comment, yay!